Chapter 19. Jess's phone rang as they were driving back to Lubbock. She smiled as she recognized Chad's number. Though they had spoken a few times over the break, the conversations had been short so he could work. She was looking forward to seeing him again tonight. "Hello, Chad." "Hey, Jess. Will you be home by 7? Jess looked at her watch. It was barely 1. They had headed back right after church ended. "Yeah, we should be home by 6, barring traffic." "Great. Will you meet me at the Starbucks on University at 7? "Sure, but what's up?" She had expected to hang out in his dorm, not at a coffee shop. What did that mean? "I don't want to tell you over the phone. Please? It's important." "Okay, I'll see you at 7. As Jess hung up the phone, she couldn't help but wonder what the secrecy was about. Her old insecurity seeped in. Had Chad found someone else while she was gone? Had their whole relationship been a sham? "What was that about?" Emily asked. "I have no idea," Jess responded with a slow shake of her head. "I guess I'll see you at 7. Chad sat at a table in the coffee shop and tapped his finger against the tabletop. The last few hours had crawled by as he waited for 7 to hit. His visit home had solidified his feelings, and he knew now he wanted to raise his child. He hoped Jess would feel the same, but he could no longer sign adoption papers. A chill breeze swept through the room, and Chad glanced up. Jess stood in the entrance, scanning the room. His face lit up at the sight of her, and he crossed quickly to embrace her. Her arms wound around his neck as she returned his kiss, and a heat spread through his body. "I've missed you," he said as they parted. "I missed you too," she said with a smile. "Come sit down," he said, taking her hand and leading her to the table he'd been sitting at. "Would you like a coffee or something to eat?" "No, I'm okay. What's going on, Chad?" His eyes held her gaze a moment and then dropped to the tabletop where his finger tapped again. After a deep breath, he raised his eyes. "I know I said I wasn't ready to raise a child, but after going home on Thursday and seeing my parents, I found myself daydreaming about you and the baby and us as a family." He paused, waiting for Jess to say something, but she only blinked at him. "I guess what I'm saying is, I don't want you to give the baby up for adoption. I want us to raise the baby together. I want what my parents have." "Chad, I'm so young. I'm only 19, Jess began. "I know we're young," he said, interrupting her, "but younger people than us have done it. I'm almost out of school, and I can support you while you finish." His eyes pleaded with hers. "But why? Why do you want this baby so badly?" His gaze was frank and unwavering as he stared into her eyes. "Because I love you, and I see my future with you. I honestly think we'll regret the decision if we give this kid away. Our family will never feel complete, you know?" Jess looked as though she was going to object again, but Chad jumped in before she could. "Let's at least try," he pleaded. "Okay, let's try," she said with a laugh. He reached across the table and grabbed her hands, sending a tingling sensation down his arm. "I know you think I'm crazy, and maybe I am, but I'm also serious about this." "Okay, let's raise a baby." "I'll show you, Jess. I'll show you I can be father material. I still have some prep work for tomorrow, so I have to run, but let's do dinner tomorrow." Jess nodded at him, still unable to find the right words. He squeezed her hands and then stood and walked away, leaving her in a happy but dazed stupor as she watched him leave. In her pocket, her phone rang. Still reeling from the last few minutes, Jess tapped the answer button without looking at the caller ID. "Hello? Jess?" Her mother's voice caused the hair on Jess's arm to stand up. What did she want? And did Jess even care what she had to say? The broken part of her wanted to ignore the call, to pretend it had never occurred and just hit the end call button now. But the other part of her, the part that God was healing, decided she should at least see what her mother wanted. "Yes, it's me. What's going on?" What was with today? First Chad and now her mother? Could it get any stranger? "I wanted to see if I could come see you. I kicked Jim to the curb. You were right about him. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you." Jess held the phone away from her ear and stared at it. As much as she wanted to believe her mother, so much hurt existed between them. If she gave her mother another chance, would she just end up hurt again? A tiny voice inside her head whispered forgiveness. But there was so much pain in the past. A sudden bolt of inspiration hit her, and she responded, "Yeah, I guess you can come, but only if you come to church with me." Jess knew this would dissuade her mother if she weren't serious. Silence descended. "I didn't know you were attending church." Her mother's voice was hesitant, soft. "I am now. I'm trying to repair the damage you did to my life, so take it or leave it. You want to see me? Then you come to church. Otherwise, don't bother." "Fine. I'll drive up Saturday morning. We can spend the day together and attend church the next morning." Jess agreed and hung up the phone. Shock rolled off her in waves. What had she just agreed to? Her hands began to shake and the urge for a cigarette gripped hard, even though she hadn't smoked in a month. Trying to focus on anything else, Jess stared out the window. "Jess?" She turned to see Chase staring down at her, wearing the traditional green apron of Starbucks employees. How had she missed seeing him when she walked in? "Yes. Hi, how are you?" "I'm good. Are you okay? Can I get you something?" She was about to tell her usual, coffee, black with 1 sugar, but she caught herself. "Sure, I'd love a green tea." She could have ordered a decaf, but it wouldn't be the same, so she might as well have a tea instead. "Not a coffee fan?" he asked, smiling. "Something like that." He returned a moment later, and she cupped her hands around the mug, enjoying the warmth that traveled up her arms. She sipped the steaming liquid as she tried to make sense of the last 10 minutes. When her drink was finished, she began the walk back to her dorm. The last half hour felt like a dream, but perhaps telling Emily would help it feel more real.